Joints are the connections between bones that allow for movement and flexibility in the body. There are several different types of joints in the human body, including 1. Fibrous joints. Fibrous joints are immovable joints that are held together by dense connective tissue, including sutures between the bones of the skull. 2. Cartilaginous joints. Cartilaginous joints are slightly movable joints that are connected by cartilage, including the joints between the vertebrae. 3. Synovial joints. Synovial joints are freely movable joints that are surrounded by a joint capsule and contain synovial fluid for lubrication, including hinge joints like the elbow, pivot joints like the neck, ball and socket joints like the shoulder and hip, and gliding joints like the wrist. 4. Saddle joint. The saddle joint is a unique synovial joint found only in the thumb, which allows for a wide range of movement. 5. Ellipsoidal joint. The ellipsoidal joint is another type of synovial joint that allows for a variety of movements and is commonly found at the wrist. 6. Ball and socket joint. Ball and socket joints are synovial joints that allow for a wide range of motion and are found at the shoulder and hip. Overall, joints are an essential part of the skeletal system that allow for mobility, stability, and flexibility in the body. 1. Fixed or immovable joints. Fixed or immovable joints, also known as synarthroses, are joints that do not move and are held together by fibrous connective tissue. These joints provide stability and support to the body, but do not allow for movement. Examples of fixed joints include the sutures between the bones of the skull and the connections between the teeth and the jawbone. These joints are important for protecting the brain and other vital organs, as well as providing a rigid and stable structure for the body. 2. Movable joints. Movable joints, also known as diarthroses, are joints that allow for a wide range of movement in the body. These joints are usually surrounded by a joint capsule and lubricated with synovial fluid to reduce friction and allow for smooth movement. There are several types of movable joints, including 1. Hinge joints. Hinge joints allow movement in only one plane, like a hinge on a door. Examples include the knee and elbow joints. 2. Ball and socket joints. Ball and socket joints allow for a wide range of movement in many directions, like the movement of a ball in a socket. Examples include the hip and shoulder joints. 3. Pivot joints. Pivot joints allow for rotation around an axis, like turning your head. Examples include the joint between the first and second vertebrae in the neck. 4. Gliding joints. Gliding joints allow for sliding or gliding movements, like moving your hand side to side or back and forth. Examples include the joints in the spine and wrist. 5. Saddle joints. Saddle joints allow for a variety of movements in two perpendicular planes, like the joint in the thumb. Movable joints are important for enabling us to perform a range of activities, from simple tasks like typing to complex movements like dancing or playing sports. Gliding joints. Gliding joints, also known as plane joints or arthrodial joints, are a type of synovial joint that allow for sliding or gliding movements between two flat surfaces of bones. They are found between the vertebrae in the spine, the bones of the wrist, and the bones of the ankle, among other places. Gliding joints allow for a relatively small amount of movement in several directions, but not rotation. Their function is to provide stability and smoother movements between bones situated adjacent to each other. The thin layer of cartilage that covers the surface of the bones helps prevent friction, and the synovial fluid found in the joint capsule further lubricates the joint, reducing wear and tear. B. Hinge joints. Hinge joints are a type of synovial joint that allow movement in one plane or direction like the opening and closing of a door. They are formed by the articulation of two bones with convex and concave surfaces that fit together like a hinge, forming a simple pivot point. Hinge joints are present in several parts of the body, including the knee, elbow, fingers, and toes. Hinge joints allow for a strong, stable hinge-like movement with little to no movement in any other direction. The joint capsule surrounding the joint, in addition to ligaments, tendons, and muscles, provides support and stability. This type of joint is essential for many daily tasks such as bending and straightening the arm or fingers and walking or running. Description of hinge joint of the knee. The knee joint is a hinge joint made up of 3 bones: the femur, thigh bone, the tibia, shin bone, and the patella, kneecap, along with several ligaments, tendons, muscles, and cartilage. The joint capsule surrounds the joint and is filled with synovial fluid, which provides nourishment, lubrication, and cushioning to the joint. The hinge joint of the knee allows movement in one direction, a flexion and extension movement, like the operation of a hinge on a door. When we extend the leg, the knee joint is fully straightened, and when we bend the leg, the knee joint is flexed. This movement is facilitated by the shape of the 2 bones making up the joint. The rounded shape of the femur's condyles fits into the flat surface of the tibia. Several ligaments, including the anterior cruciate ligament ACL and the posterior cruciate ligament PCL, connect and stabilize the bones of the knee joint, and 2 cartilages, the medial and lateral menisci, provide additional cushioning to help absorb shock and protect the joint from wear and tear. The hinge joint of the knee plays a crucial role in our walking, running, jumping, and general mobility. C. Ball and socket joints. Ball and socket joints, also known as spheroidal joints, are a type of synovial joint that allow a wide range of movements in multiple directions. They are formed by the articulation of a bone with a rounded or spherical head, ball, and the cup-shaped socket of another bone. These joints are found in several areas of the body, including the shoulder and hip. Ball and socket joints allow for movements in multiple planes or directions, such as flexion and extension, abduction and adduction, as well as rotation. The joint capsule surrounding the joint contains synovial fluid, which lubricates and nourishes the joint, reducing friction and preventing wear and tear on the bones. At the shoulder, the ball and socket joint is formed by the head of the humerus upper arm bone fitting into the shallow, cup-shaped glenoid cavity of the scapula, shoulder blade. The hip joint, on the other hand, is formed by the head of the femur, thigh bone fitting into the deep, cup-shaped acetabulum of the pelvis. Ball and socket joints provide strength, stability as well as unrestricted mobility, making it vital to proper function and movement of the body. Important note: A. Bone. B. Cartilage. C. Ligament. D. Tendon. A. Bone. Bones are hard, mineralized tissues that give the body structure, support, and protection. They also house the bone marrow, which produces blood cells. Bones are made up of cells, collagen fibers, minerals such as calcium and phosphorus, and water. B. Cartilage. Cartilage is a tough, flexible, and slippery connective tissue that provides cushioning and support to joints, as well as shaping and supporting some body parts such as ears, nose, and trachea. Cartilage lacks blood vessels, but it receives nutrients and oxygen by diffusion from surrounding tissues. C. Ligament. Ligaments are tough, fibrous connective tissues that attach bone to bone and provide stability and strength to joints. They limit the range of motion and prevent the bones from moving too far in certain directions, preventing injury. D. Tendon. Tendons are flexible, fibrous tissues that connect muscle to bone. They transmit the force generated by muscle contraction to the bones, enabling movement of the body parts. They are made up of collagen fibers and are essential for everyday activities, such as walking, lifting, or throwing. Review questions. 1. State the functions of the ribcage. The ribcage serves the following functions. 1. Protects the vital organs. The ribcage surrounds and protects the thoracic cavity, which houses and protects the heart, lungs, and other vital organs from external trauma. 2. Aids in respiration. The ribcage provides an attachment site for the muscles involved in breathing, such as the diaphragm and intercostal muscles. During inhalation, the ribcage expands, creating negative pressure in the chest and drawing air into the lungs. During exhalation, the ribcage contracts, expelling air from the lungs. 3. Helps in posture. The ribcage helps in maintaining an upright posture by supporting the weight of the head, neck, and arms. 4. Facilitates movement. The ribcage provides attachment points for several muscles that are involved in movement of the upper body, such as the pectoralis major, serratus anterior, and trapezius muscles. 2. Distinguish between tendons and ligaments. Tendons and ligaments are both connective tissues in the body, but they have different functions and structures. 1. Function. Tendons connect muscle to bone, while ligaments connect bone to bone. 2. Composition. Tendons are composed of parallel bundles of dense collagen fibers, which are able to withstand high tension and force, making them strong and rigid. Ligaments, on the other hand, are less dense than tendons and contain more elastic fibers, allowing them to stretch and recoil like a rubber band. 3. Location. Tendons are typically found at the ends of muscles and are embedded into bone, while ligaments are found within and around joints, holding bones together and providing stability to the joint. 4. Range of motion. Tendons have a limited range of motion due to their strong, non-flexible structure, while ligaments have a greater range of motion due to their elastic structure. 5. Healing time. Tendons have a slow healing time as they have a poor blood supply and receive less oxygen and nutrients, while ligaments have a faster healing time as they have a better blood supply. Overall, tendons and ligaments both serve important functions in the body, but they differ in their composition, function, location, range of motion, and healing time. 3. Name the cartilage found between the vertebrae. The cartilage found between the vertebrae is called the intervertebral disc. It is a tough, fibrous cartilage that serves as a cushion between the vertebrae, allowing for shock absorption and protecting the spinal cord. It also helps to maintain proper spacing between the vertebrae, allowing for smooth movement and flexibility of the spine. The intervertebral disc is composed of an outer fibrous ring called the annulus fibrosus and a gelatinous center called the nucleus pulposus. 4. Name the type of joint found at the articulation of a. Humerus and ulna. b. Humerus and scapula. c. Femur and pelvic girdle. d. Femur and tibia. a. The type of joint found at the articulation of humerus and ulna is a hinge joint. b. The type of joint found at the articulation of humerus and scapula is a ball and socket joint. c. The type of joint found at the articulation of femur and pelvic girdle is a ball and socket joint. d. The type of joint found at the articulation of femur and tibia is a hinge joint. 5. State 2 features of the joints that help to reduce friction. 2 features of the joints that help to reduce friction are: 1. Articular cartilage. The articulating surfaces of bones at the joint are covered with a smooth, slippery layer of articular cartilage. This cartilage is composed of chondrocytes and extracellular matrix that help to reduce friction and absorb shock during movements at the joint. 2. Synovial fluid. The joint cavity is filled with synovial fluid, which is a clear, viscous fluid that lubricates the joint and further reduces friction. Synovial fluid is produced by the synovial membrane that lines the joint capsule and contains hyaluronan, lubricin, and other substances that help to reduce wear and tear on the joint. 6. Give the difference between thoracic vertebrae and cervical vertebrae. Thoracic vertebrae and cervical vertebrae are 2 types of vertebrae found in the spinal column. Here are the differences between these 2 types of vertebrae. 1. Location. Thoracic vertebrae are located in the chest region of the spinal column, while cervical vertebrae are located in the neck region of the spinal column. 2. Numbering. There are 12 thoracic vertebrae in the spinal column, numbered T1 to T12, while there are 7 cervical vertebrae, numbered C1 to C7. 3. Shape. Thoracic vertebrae have a medium-sized, heart-shaped body, with long, pointed processes for rib attachment, while cervical vertebrae have a small, oval-shaped body with short, bifurcated processes. 4. Range of motion. Thoracic vertebrae have limited range of motion due to their attachment to ribs, while cervical vertebrae have a greater range of motion due to their small size and articulation with the skull. 5. Spinous processes. The spinous processes of thoracic vertebrae are generally longer and point more downwards, while the spinous processes of cervical vertebrae are comparatively shorter and more horizontal. Overall, the main differences between thoracic vertebrae and cervical vertebrae are their location, numbering, shape, range of motion, and spinous processes. 7. State the functions of the following parts of the human skeleton. A. Olecranon process. B. Glenoid cavity. C. Demephysites. Olecranon process. The olecranon process is a bony projection located on the upper part of the ulna in the forearm. Its main function is to serve as an attachment site for the triceps muscle, which is responsible for extending the arm at the elbow joint. When the triceps muscle contracts, it pulls on the olecranon process, which then moves to help the elbow joint straighten. B. Glenoid cavity. The glenoid cavity is a shallow depression located on the scapula bone. It forms the socket of the ball and socket joint that allows the arm to move in a wide range of directions. The main function of the glenoid cavity is to allow the head of the humerus bone to articulate or move within it, which enables the arm to move in a variety of directions. C. Demephysites. The demephysites are found on the thoracic vertebrae of the spine. These are half-moon-shaped surfaces located on the sides of the vertebral body and the transverse processes. The main function of the demephysites is to provide attachment points for the ribs, which are essential for respiratory functions. Each thoracic vertebrae has two demephysites, one on the left and one on the right, that articulate with the head of a rib. 8. Distinguish between endoskeleton and exoskeleton. Endoskeleton and exoskeleton are two types of skeletal systems found in animals. Endoskeleton. An endoskeleton is an internal skeletal system that is located inside the body of an animal. It is comprised of bones, cartilage, and other connective tissues that support and protect the body. Examples of animals with endoskeletons include humans, dogs, and cats. Exoskeleton. An exoskeleton, on the other hand, is an external skeletal system that is located on the outside of an animal's body. It is made up of a hard, protective shell or armor that covers the body of the animal. Examples of animals with exoskeletons include insects, crustaceans, and mollusks. Differences between endoskeleton and exoskeleton. 1. Location. Endoskeleton is located inside the body of an animal, while exoskeleton is located outside the body of an animal. 2. Structure. Endoskeleton is composed of bones, cartilage, and other connective tissues, while exoskeleton is composed of a hard, protective shell or armor. 3. Growth. Endoskeleton can grow and change shape as the animal grows, while exoskeleton cannot grow and must be shed or molted in order for the animal to grow. 4. Movement. Endoskeleton allows for more efficient movement and greater range of motion, while exoskeleton can limit movement due to its rigid structure. 5. Protection. Endoskeleton provides internal support and protection for organs, while exoskeleton provides external protection against predators and environmental factors. Overall, the key difference between endoskeleton and exoskeleton is their location. One is inside and one is outside the body of an animal. 9. State the functions of the human skeleton. The human skeleton has several important functions, which include 1. Support. The skeleton provides a framework that supports the body and gives it shape. 2. Protection. The skeleton protects delicate organs and tissues, such as the brain, heart, and lungs, from injury. 3. Movement. The skeleton works together with muscles and joints to enable movement of the body. 4. Blood cell production. Bones contain bone marrow, which produces red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. 5. Mineral storage. Bones store minerals such as calcium and phosphorus, which are important for maintaining strong bones and teeth, and for other bodily functions such as nerve function and muscle contraction. 6. Energy storage. Adipose tissue, fat, is stored in the yellow marrow of certain bones, and can be used for energy when needed. Overall, the human skeleton is a complex and essential system that plays a vital role in maintaining the structure and function of the body.